want to sincerely thank the people who take the time to leave a comment. It gives me the courage to keep bringing you more stories. I never thought I'd miss the sound of Mexico City traffic until I started staying alone in a massive office in absolute silence, thousands of kilometers from home, with the feeling that someone was breathing behind me. My name is Maricela. I'm Mexican from Tlalpan, but for the past few years, I've been living in the United States. I work in the corporate banking division of a large bank, one of those glass tower buildings with an elegant lobby and overpriced coffee on the ground floor. It sounds glamorous, but the reality is that I spend hours in front of a screen answering emails and putting out fires for clients who move a lot of money. And when something goes wrong, we stay late, very late. My strange experiences didn't start all at once. They were small things, details you blame on exhaustion at first. A murmur, a door closing on its own, a reflection you swear you saw in the glass. But when you add it all up, it stops feeling normal. The office takes up almost an entire floor of the tower. Before, according to people who had been there longer, there used to be closed cubicles, walls, dividers. By the time I arrived, it had already been remodeled. An open floor plan full of desks, separated by internal glass panels like one giant fishbowl. You could see from one end to the other without getting up from your chair. My first strange encounter was in the bathroom. That night, it was around 8:30. My coworkers had already left. It was just me, the security guard at the entrance, and I assumed the cleaning person somewhere on another floor. I was exhausted, head spinning from too many numbers, and I decided to go to the bathroom before continuing. I walked in and saw that one of the stalls was occupied. Door closed, light visible underneath. Someone else stayed late, I thought. I went into the stall next to it. As soon as I closed the door, I heard a soft sound, crying, a woman crying. At first I didn't think much of it. We've all had terrible days at work, but the crying continued, very soft, the kind you force back so nobody hears it. And that started to bother me. I came out, washed my hands, and without overthinking it, I asked, "Are you okay?" The crying stopped dead. Several endless seconds passed. Then a voice answered very quietly, "Yes, thank you." It was a young voice, like a girl in her mid-20s. I felt bad leaving her alone, so I said, "I'll be right outside if you want to talk or need anything." She didn't answer, but she started crying again, even softer. I stepped out and stood in the hallway for a few minutes, checking my phone, waiting to hear the door. I didn't hear anything. When I went back in to let her know I was leaving, the stall was open and empty. I checked the other three. Nothing. There was nobody in the bathroom. I stood in front of the mirror with my chest tight, trying to convince myself she had slipped out, and I hadn't heard her. But the bathroom door has a horrible creak. You can hear it from the hallway. And I had been standing right outside the whole time. I went home that night with the feeling that I had heard someone who shouldn't have been there, or who was no longer here at all. I told myself it was stress, new country, new language, new rhythm. It makes you more susceptible to suggestion. I let it go. The second event was worse. A couple of weeks later, I had to stay late again. It was around 7:30. The sky outside was already dark. Through the windows, you could only see the lights of other offices and the street below. My team had gone home. I wanted to finish a report so I wouldn't have to take it home. When I finally saved the file, I stretched my neck and noticed something. I was not alone. Across the floor, in the client services area, on the other side of the glass, a monitor was on. In front of that screen, the silhouette of someone sitting there, still, as if typing. I was surprised because I hadn't heard the elevator or footsteps or anything. Must be someone from another department doing overtime, I thought. It's normal here to cross paths with people you didn't even know worked on your floor. I got up, more out of politeness than anything, to offer coffee or water. The solidarity of a late shift survivor. As I walked, I kept my eyes on the figure. I could clearly see the outline, the glow of the monitor, the slight movement of the shoulders, the way they shift when you type. I had to go around a column and a couple of glass partitions. Less than 5 seconds where I couldn't see directly. When I came around, nobody was there. The chair was pushed in, the monitor was off. No mug, no jacket, no bag, nothing that said anyone had been sitting there seconds before. My arms went cold. "Hello," I said out loud. Then, "Hello," again in English just in case. Complete silence. I walked back to my area almost sideways, not taking my eyes off that section. I grabbed my things faster than usual and left. In the elevator, I asked the security guard if he had seen anyone leave my floor in the last few minutes. He said no, that since my coworkers left, nobody had come down. I tried to convince myself again that it was exhaustion, but my body wasn't buying it. The following weeks were quiet until the elevator. One night, I left at almost 9. At that hour, the building feels abandoned. The hallway lights are in energy-saving mode. They turn on by motion sensors. If you walk alone, you can hear your footsteps echoing everywhere. I pressed the elevator button, stepped in, and pressed ground floor. The doors closed. Instead of going down, the elevator started going up. I figured maybe someone had called it from another floor, but the panel showed no other button lit up, only mine. And it was pointing upward. That hollow feeling in your stomach when an elevator moves too fast. It stopped at a high floor I had never been to. The doors opened. The hallway was completely dark. Only the white light from the elevator spilled outward, marking a rectangle on the floor. I was about to press the button again when I heard something. A murmur, like several voices talking at the same time, very far away, overlapping. Impossible to make out words. I forced my eyes to see beyond the lit frame. I could make out shadows, moving from one side to the other, crossing from one office to another. No lights on anywhere. But something was moving. My skin went ice cold. I started hammering the ground floor button. For a second I thought the doors were never going to close, that the lights were going to go out right there. Finally, the elevator obeyed. It went straight down without stopping. When I reached the ground floor, the guard was distracted on his phone. I asked if any of the upper floors were still under renovation or something like that. He said no, that at this hour they were all empty. Just 2 guards and the cleaning crew on the lower levels. I never told him exactly what I saw. I reduced it to, I think the elevator might be malfunctioning. I didn't want him to think I was crazy. I didn't want to think so either. Up to that point, you could argue everything was suggestible. Isolated incidents. What finally broke my logic was what happened with the figure, this time with a witness. That night, my coworker Carla and I were working on a large account that had come up unbalanced. Emails, phone calls, spreadsheets. Time got away from us. When I finally looked up, it was almost 9. Out of the corner of my eye. Same scene as before. In the client services area at the back. A monitor on. Someone sitting in front of it. I gestured toward it and said to Carla, "Look, we're not the only ones condemned to this." "Who is that?" she asked, keeping her voice low. "No idea. I always see someone sitting over there when I stay late. But they never come over to say hello." Carla looked for a moment and nodded. "Yeah, they're there. Are you sure it's not someone from your team?" "No, and the guard says nobody comes down after us." We looked at each other. Instead of being scared right away, we were curious. Carla made a suggestion. "Okay, here's what we do. I stay here near the exit and you go around the other side. We box them in. If it's someone, great, we finally meet them. If they disappear, then we'll know we're never staying late alone again." Half joking, half serious. I agreed. As I walked toward that area, I kept my eyes on the silhouette the whole time. It was facing away from me, leaning over the keyboard. The screen's light lit up the upper body. I couldn't see the face. I passed alongside a column. 2 seconds, 3 at most, without a direct line of sight. When I came around, nobody was there. Empty chair. Monitor off. Not even the little standby light glowing. I checked the desks nearby. Nothing. There had been no time to go anywhere without me seeing them leave. And certainly not without Carla noticing from the other end. When I turned toward her, she was waving at me frantically to come back. I hurried over, heart pounding. "Did you see them leave?" I asked. "No," she said, pale. "I was watching the whole time. The screen just went black, and the figure dissolved, like smoke." We stood by the elevators for a while, looking at the office through the glass. Dark, silent. The rows of desks lined up like headstones. Nothing moved inside. That was the first time we both said out loud what we had been thinking. "That's not an employee," Carla whispered. "Not from HR, at least," I tried to joke. But my voice came out wrong. From then on, every time I had to stay alone, I felt that gaze from somewhere among the cubicles. Sometimes, while shutting down my computer, I'd hear keys clicking in the distance, in a section I knew was empty. Or I'd see reflected in the glass the glow of a monitor turning on at a desk where nobody had sat all day. I stopped using the bathroom at the far end when I was alone. I would rather take the stairs down a floor than stand in front of those stalls, where at any moment I might hear again the crying of a girl who never walked out the door. These days there are usually several of us staying for overtime, so I haven't seen it as clearly again. But every so often, when the floor goes quieter than normal, I find myself looking up toward that corner. And sometimes, just for a second, I think I see a monitor light itself up on its own. I don't know what happened in this building before I arrived. I don't know if someone died here working, if there was a fire, if someone decided to end their life inside these walls. What I do know is that in a country where nobody knows me, where I was supposed to be starting over, someone or something sits down to work the night shift alongside me, even though they have nothing left to file a complaint about with HR. So, whenever I hear someone say that in the United States, you earn more and live better, I always think, maybe. But the ghosts take the elevator too.